What is up, Watch fam? It is Michael, and looks like Christian's not coming home for Christmas once again. So today we were talking about a few things in the shop, and then the sheer volume in the room at this point was just too much for our poor little microphone to handle. So here we go. This is going to be a Christmas episode, so we're going to talk about a certain someone that may or may not still be very much alive in your house.
So be careful playing around your children.
Yeah, headphones. Heads up, sorry about the audio. The laptop switched to internal microphones, so it's not perfect. The next live won't be perfect as well, but then perfection will return.
I'm back! Hold on, I gotta change my sunnies.
Oh!
You know, listen, I just got back from Aspen. No, no.
Me and the wife were.
You know what's funny? So, as a
that.
child, I so much of my childhood bullying I associated with not wearing glasses because I never wore glasses. I feel like once I put glasses on, I began to become me.
Yeah, people respected you.
So I am so good at never being seen without my glasses. So this is the switch. Ready?
Yep.
Ready? I just did it a second.
They may not be able to see it. The part of your eyes that's affected by the lenses,
yes.
It stops here and comes on.
Okay, so anyway, this was good. So once a bullied teen, always a bullied teen.
It's actually not for looks, it's for trauma. It's a trauma response.
It's a trauma. I look fine without my glasses. It's not that big of a deal.
No, it's a trauma response.
It's a trauma response.
What do you got on your wrist?
Today I'm wearing out, man. This is, I've been wearing this watch a lot, actually.
Yeah, you have.
This is my Grand Seiko Omiwatari. I absolutely love this watch. The blue color is perfect. The case is perfect. The pattern is perfect. Everything about it is perfect. This is my first Grand Seiko. I've been working with the brand for, I suppose... there's 2 years, but COVID was one of those years, so really 1 year.
Yeah.
And I just commemorated the anniversary recently with this watch, and so did you.
Yeah, well, it was crazy.
It's kind of great. So anyway, this is my Grand Seiko, my only Grand Seiko at the moment. There's a couple that I like and love, but I don't see many watches getting more wrist time than this at the moment. Yeah. So I'm wearing it all the time.
Who's the couple you love? Angelina and Brad?
Yeah, Brangelina.
Anyways, this is the Christmas episode.
Speaking of couples,
Merry Christmas.
Liked Ben Affleck and Jennifer Gardner.
Better than...
Not even close. Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez.
Same name.
Ben and Jen.
Ben and Jen. Oh, reminds me of the
Jennifer
ice cream
Gardner
company.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is a Christmas episode, so there's nothing on the docket besides showing off
some watches, some stories. Yeah, so tell me a story.
My claim to fame and my Christmas family is that I was known to get very excited for Santa coming. Very, very excited, to the point where usually halfway through dinner, I would start to throw up.
What?
And I would start to throw up so much that my parents would grab me as I was throwing up and handle the situation. And it was because I was getting so excited. So it became not even an intentional, thought about tradition, but it was tradition that I would barely eat anything for Christmas. Always at the house, because we'd go to my aunt's house in Connecticut.
You were a sick human being.
I would just get so excited that I'd start throwing up. And it got to the point where when I was getting to the age where I was like interested in women, people would be like, does Michael have a girlfriend? But a silly version.
Yeah.
I was more sweating about the fact that they were talking about Santa behind my back.
Oh my God.
Because let me give you a little preface of why I would get so excited.
Yeah.
This is what would happen in my family. Everybody would be
I was born in an orphanage.
I was born just me in a tiny diaper. Yeah. Puking everywhere. My family, we'd all be eating dinner, and then my cousins, since I was the youngest at the time, would be like, I think Santa's coming. In the middle of dinner or slightly after. And then so all my cousins would be like, we gotta get upstairs now. So we'd all start running upstairs. They're leading the way, getting me out of the way. They'd be like, Michael, get under the bed, now. Then my uncle would run outside and start throwing basketballs at the roof, so it sounded like Santa was coming. My dad would start screaming, ho, ho, ho. My aunts would all start shaking bells.
Yeah.
I'm just almost projectile vomiting because it's happening right then. It was the most surreal, 360-degree thing happening. Yeah. And then I'd go downstairs and they would tell me what Santa said about my year.
Oh,
we're so glad that you did this or did that or did this.
But they wouldn't let you meet him.
No. Well, because then he wouldn't come.
Right.
And I have one last specific memory, the fever dream. After throwing up, my parents put me in my aunt's bed, and they had a TV on their bed, and I've never seen Coneheads. You know the movie?
I know it, but yeah.
I've still never seen it, but I was sitting sick, like over anxiety and excitement and stuff, with the volume off and just staring at the TV, like,
what world am I living in?
What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a big, Christmas guy. Are you a big Christmas guy?
Yeah.
Are you? Well, that's great.
I used to throw up, believe it or not.
I'm a big Christmas guy. I love the season. I love being out and drinking. I like, wearing beautiful clothes and with friends.
Sorry, speaking of small business, a little interjected story.
Yeah.
I used to be very, very obsessed with Christmas. My dad's a fisherman, so obviously also a small business owner. There was a rule in my house that we couldn't play Christmas music until the pots were in, the lobster pots. Because when my dad would come home after working like 16 hours and your son is like dancing to Christmas music, and all that is a reminder that you're behind schedule and that you have to get everything out before the holidays because then you have time off with your family.
Yeah.
It would stress him out so much that we would blast Christmas music in my house, and like with total respect, no one's mad at my dad or anything. But then my dad would come home, we'd like turn it off and just be like, "Hey, Dad!
Hey, Dad! It's November."
And we'd be like, "Hey, Dad, we're thinking about watching the Santa Claus tonight. Is that all right?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course, it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Just don't like joyously celebrate." Face. Yeah, right. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No. My family starts putting on Christmas music in like October. We're one of those groups.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I love the holiday season. This seems like our first Christmas, but it's not. It's our second Christmas.
It is our second.
But this is really our first Christmas.
At the point of our first Christmas, I didn't even know how to say "Have a good holiday."
Yeah.
I bought you socks and you gave me anything.
I didn't anything.
Horrible miscommunication.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's so funny.
This is our second Christmas. When Michael came October 1st. So by Christmas we had said hello to each other 3 times.
Yeah.
So
yeah, honestly, and we didn't know how to talk at that point. Like your family was still like, have a good holiday.
Are you Jewish?
I used to hide because I'd be like, I gotta go shoot some watches in your basement.
Yeah.
And just like walk away.
Yeah. So this is kind of our first Christmas and it's beautiful. So so Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I try to say Merry Christmas to people twice, 3 times a day, really, every day in December.
Every morning.
I think it makes me
lunch.
happier.
You
know, and happy holidays. I don't care. I just say Merry Christmas. I don't mean a statement by it. It's just
there's a certain level of you have to force yourself into the holiday spirit, and then it happens.
Yes.
But you have to like chip away that ice because it's very easy to be like, okay, I have an Omega video, I have this video, I have that video, I have to edit that. Okay, so I have to do that.
Yes.
And then the day's over.
Yes, and Christmas, season. Unless you make time for it, or like anything else, right? Like you have to force it. Like you got to go out and do the things that make you feel that season. Otherwise, that's it. The year becomes monotonous, and it's so easy for it to get by you. It sucks. Let's talk about some watches.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
let's talk about the shop too.
Let's talk about the shop. What about it?
Just in general. This is your 6th year, 7th year.
I would just think about that the other day. So this is the 7th year of T&H, and that'll be February, I believe it's 13th or 15th.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to forget.
It's getting old now.
Getting old.
Yep.
It's the 7th year, and I did a party for the 5th year. So I want to do another party for 7.
Because
it's 7.
7, right.
I don't know. I'll think of any excuse to party,
Yeah.
But it's funny, looking at these watches. Michael told me to pick up a couple watches and talk about them, and I picked out 2 Seamasters and a Datejust, and a 34 millimeter precision, And the reason I did that was because when I started the company, which is way before the watch craze really blew up, it was just starting to buzz, barely, and these were the only watches that I could afford, and actually this would have made up all the money I started the company with, basically.
Yeah.
And I didn't just love these sorts of watches because I could afford them, but I held them and I made memories with them, and stuff like that. And the Datejust was my first watch. And the Seamaster was like my second, and my grandfather's Seamaster. I don't know. I just have such a deep connection to. Listen, who knows what I'll buy and what I'll sell, whatever. You could buy Breguet, I could buy Longa, I could buy a ton of cool things that you watch geeks buy, right? But ultimately, Datejust and the Seamaster, to say they hold a special place in my heart would be a gross understatement.
Yeah, of course.
A gross understatement.
Yeah.
So anyway, these are kind of very nostalgic watches for me.
It's also kind of interesting thinking about it, from a consumer thing, but taking that away from a business owner thing, especially when was Theo and Harris good? Where you're like, okay, this is great.
Making money?
I'm not as sweaty as I usually am. Yeah.
Making money? 2 years into the company. So
2 years.
Started to make a decent income.
Okay. So first year, second year, maybe. Christmas was also very important because that is going to be a lot more income at those end months, or at least you're hoping.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're like, okay, here we go. If the company's raging, it's like great, more money's more money. But in the beginning, it's like, oh great. This will get me into 5 months more.
100%.
I get this many more watches. Because you told me when you first started, you would just max out cards every time.
Yeah.
Like max out cards, sell them, and keep going.
Yeah. Right? The way that I funded the business in the first year basically was, I had $9,000 and I bought some watches, and then about a year in, I said to my mom, hey, I don't really know anything about credit, but I have a credit card, and tell me if I'm crazy. I only have, because I had $9,000. A year later, maybe I turned it to $30,000. I didn't make a lot of money, right? So maybe a year I made $20,000, whatever. And I said, but out of the $30,000 that I have, only 10 is liquid. So I only have $10,000 to play with, really. Yeah, right. I said, but I know that if I use credit, I can buy watches. And even though I don't have the money to pay the bill, I have 30 days to get the money back, So in the beginning of the company, I was, maxing out, not maxing, but I was getting pretty close to maxing and sometimes maxing out my credit card, and then hopefully getting the money to pay it off before the cycle was over.
Yeah, right, right.
So that was really how I ended up kind of paying for the company, and I never missed a payment. That's kind of the best part for, like, obviously you see companies, Apple, Amazon, whatever, like, record profits and, Christmas time and this and that, Cyber Monday and all this. Yeah.
But it's cool, like, I shop with a lot of small companies, denim companies and stuff like that. It's cool when you, like, talk to the owners, now that I'm starting my own and all that too, where they're just like, no, like, the holidays there's a lot of pressure on there because that has to cover a lot more.
Yeah.
And when it does, it's very, very exciting.
Yes.
It's not boasting about records. It's saying this little idea that I had is working.
Yeah.
Like, that's really cool.
You guys have been watching my journey for, or the company's journey for years, and by extension mine. And, I use retail as a means to, kind of earn independence, but I'm not really a retailer, I mean, I would put no pressure on the holiday season.
Yeah, right.
None.
Right.
Absolutely none. I used to care a ton about it. Now I care virtually not at all. Right?
Yeah, right.
Meaning as far as holiday season for retail. We still list watches. We still sell watches. We all move on. Whatever. I don't stress about it. Whatever. It's it's not my main source of income, and it's not something that I don't like it for my life. It's very stressful.
Yeah, right.
I like what we do. I like creating films and commercials. I like working with all these big brands, and that's fun. That gets us.
I can't wait to. There's 3 brands we haven't announced.
There's an incredible amount of success that this company has had in the last couple of months that we haven't even talked about.
Oh my! There's 3 brands though. Yeah. There's a lot of other brands, but there's 3 that I can only tell my parents, really.
Yeah.
And even they're like, wow, it's impressive.
Yeah, I only tell my parents.
Yeah, well, can't tell anyone else.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's incredible. So the point was, I suppose, I guess we're just reflecting. But the point was,
it's the end of the year.
Yeah, there was definitely a time in my life that December. You're right. Some of those Decembers, the company made more money than I had ever hoped to make in a year or a month. It's the truth. It wasn't a grand sum, but I had low aspirations starting the company. Yeah. Starting the company, I never wanted to make a lot of money. I wanted to make enough money to not
become a philanthropist.
Yeah, right. I wanted to make enough money to be independent, but I never wanted to make a lot of money. That was not the goal. That became a goal later, but that wasn't the goal then.
Yeah, right.
So there were months that I did really, really well, particularly December.
Yeah.
That I remember having nightcaps with my dad, and those were where some of my most profound kind of moments came from, listening to my dad's wisdom. And I remember saying, "Wow, the way that I feel about the success of this last month and even last year is not equivalent to the success. Like, I don't particularly care."
Yeah, right.
I never really cared.
Yeah.
I cared much more about doing something impressive than I did about like making money on selling a watch. It was never a priority to me. Never. Yeah. I never thought that was a reflection of my intelligence or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it was a weird journey.
Yeah.
But anyway, geez, we're getting really weird.
Should we go over these?
Yeah.
You start crying.
I'm gonna start crying. 34mm precision with alpha hands. Oyster bracelet.
Oyster rivet bracelet, non-stretch. My favorite.
That is a ridiculous watch.
Oh, yeah. This is very similar to the watch that Ryan Gosling wears as his everyday watch. He has a 369.
Yes.
But basically the same thing. And this is one of my favorite sizes and one of my favorite watches because this watch, and not salesy, this is the watch that says, I know about watches. I know about vintage watches.
Yep.
And this is what I see from Ryan Gosling too. I've picked out a watch that I like,
Yep.
and that's my watch.
Yep.
I'm not showing off.
Yep.
But in a world of Daytonas and Sea Dwellers and everything like that, at the red carpet, for example,
Yep.
this is very much my watch.
Exactly right.
That's why I like it.
And I think the color scheme is great because the custard tritium and the shapes with the alpha, it's all great.
Yep.
But like they don't even do gilt anymore. You know, and as a vintage person, as a person that looks back at Rolex history and says, "Wow, things are great now," but they cool back in the middle of the 20th century.
Rolex got more conservative with everything.
Way more.
It's done. More. Yeah.
This was detailed.
This was when Rolex was in their punk face, rebelling against their parents. They're like, gold.
Yeah, exactly right. So I love that watch. It is available in the Theo Harris Watch Shop. It's an incredible piece. Not for someone that doesn't take Rolex seriously. No, you know, I don't mean that. I don't mean that in a condescending way. I mean that like if you actually care to learn about Rolex, understand what it was and what it is now, and you want to talk about history, this watch is all the more important. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, because it has every detail you could point out. Like, oh, yes, it's a rivet bracelet. It has alpha hands. It has applied indices. Like, all things that you talk about on a vintage Rolex.
Yes, it's like the difference between, boiled ham and jamons, iberico. You know, it's like, it's both, no, I mean that, like,
no,
they're both,
I don't know the
like, they're, like, ham and ham are the same thing. Like, Rolex and Rolex is the same thing.
Yeah.
But, like, if you look in the details, they're not the same. You know what I mean? Like, this is an incredibly special piece.
Yeah.
And if you buy a gilt sub, you're paying, dozens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in premium, and here you're paying, like, $1,000 premium, which is incredible.
You can't beat it.
I love that watch. I'm trying to think. I have so many Christmas stories. They're so inappropriate, though. I know. It's crazy.
Oh, my God.
I know.
Did you ever do Elf on a Shelf? We're too old for that, right?
I was involved in a couple for other people.
For legal reasons.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, I did them for some other, like, for, like, nephews. But no, I believe I was too young. I was too old for Elf on a Shelf.
We were too old for that. Isn't that funny? That's a very, like, societal thing now. But that just got added into Christmas lore.
Yes.
And that's very weird. Santa's obviously
dozens and millions of dollars in God
Isn't that so weird, though?
Yeah.
Like, now people are like, oh, yeah, like, I think my cousins were like, well, we saw, like, Jingle on the fan today. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Is a lot of my family's friends, and obviously my family's Italian, when the children named their elves on the shelves, they always came up like with what they thought was a normal name. So everyone's elf's name is like Giancarlo, Angelo, Nucci,
Big Vinny,
like Vinny Sneakers,
right.
And Tall Larry.
They say all these kids, by the way, they're like 8-year-old boys with their hair perfectly parted.
Literally, 100%.
What should we name him? Giancarlo.
Yeah, I was on Staten Island last week, 2 weeks ago for dinner, and so I've spent a lot of time on Staten Island, family on Staten Island, whatever. But the culture is so incredibly funny. You'd be sitting at dinner, and it's a very masculine culture, and then a lot of the women they have strong attitudes, but they have very strong rude attitudes, but they also love that the men are like the boss. It's very weird,
Yeah.
So anyway, the men will sit there kind of like fucking huddle, everyone's like a longshoreman, everyone's like everyone's like a real blue collar, like kind of tough guy or whatever. And he's sitting there with their drink, their manicured fingernails,
Of course.
And they go, look who just walked in. And Tony D'Angelo, the guy's a jerk off. Sister's hot. The guy owes me $11,000. Let me go say hello. Let me go say hello. I'm like, why would you want to say hello? You're just complaining. He owes you $11,000. And he said, oh, why are you saying hello? He goes, come on.
Family.
Don't be stupid. It's family. Every time. It's great.
It is great. Every time I'm with a dense collection of your family, I'm just silently maneuvering through.
Yeah.
When I walked in on the soccer game, everyone's like, who are you rooting for? I was like, I don't know. The TV to be a that's who I'm rooting for. I have no idea.
Yeah, exactly. But
Straps,
yes. Which one? So a lot of my memories naturally are associated with my dad. My dad and I are very, very close friends.
This is kind of reminiscent of not calling you Scrooge, but the ghosts of Christmas Past visiting you right now.
It is,
and I'm forcing you to do it, and I could hear that you're just like, this is from 3 years ago.
I know, it's so weird. All my adult life has been with this company.
You've done a Christmas video 7 times.
I'm a very young adult. Obviously, I'm a very young guy, but man, all these memories are coming up.
I'm just a stranger to the life of the company. I'm a stranger. I'm like, so tell me about.
I remember being at Seton. I went to Seton Hall for college. I remember being at Seton Hall, and doing the Christmas tree lighting.
Mm-hmm.
And Seton Hall has a great Christmas tree lighting every year. And I remember the conversations that I was having with groups of friends. That's how specific I remember. And then I remember being like, everyone was like, "Oh, we're gonna go out." And I was like, "Yeah, all right. I have to go work. Like
I have to go. Yeah.
I have to go home write descriptions. I have to go sell watches.
I have to go call Bezel's Toasted Marshmallow right now."
Yeah. So like, yeah, I remember that so well. I remember what I was wearing. I mean, I remember wearing a gingham shirt, a brown, a gray, like kind of casual sport jacket, and and these Chelsea boots. Like I remember that night. I remember, and then going home like an asshole, I was 19 or whatever, pouring myself, scotch and then coffee and water. I thought I was like a chemical genius. I still do that. I actually still do that till today. I have 3 glasses every time I'm working at night. I have my scotch, I have my coffee,
finger
and my
in,
water.
suck the drink off.
And I like this, like an asshole, And I was like, one day I'll be free.
Well, interesting on that point. What was this is kind of like an interview. Hopefully next year I have more things to contribute, but this year it's an interview. What year, because you told me this already, but not the year, what year did you then decide that you were going to put the holidays first? Because we talked about this last year where you said one year you were like, okay, I can't do this. I'm missing my family.
Yeah, and I still fucked it up even after that. I remember one year, maybe 3 years ago, so it's still like 4 or 5 years in the company.
Yeah.
4 years in the company. I love the fall, and then it was like October, like came and went. I did nothing fall wise. Yeah. And then now this is very normal. I'm sure I'm speaking to an entire audience of people who miss out on beautiful things of the season.
Most people over the age of 22, college,
they miss out.
Probably think the
so
same
I have no delusion. I know that this is a very normal experience.
Yeah.
But I had a problem with it. I really, I've always kind of said like, as a third, I'm a fourth generation American. As a fourth generation American, I thought it is my responsibility to my ancestors that braved this whatever, that like no, you're supposed to like be with your family now. Like you don't have to be a slave to work.
Yeah, right.
And you do for a little while, but then your goal is to not be anymore.
Yeah, your whole goal was freedom, and you missed every holiday.
Exactly.
Right.
I was just talking about this the other night. Like I remember being in the city at this rooftop bar right before Christmas 3 years ago. I'm not a club guy at all. I'm a couch guy with good friends and a bottle of wine or a couple bottles of wine.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and Veuve Clicquot is like a $55 bottle of champagne. And I think we spent $750 on it. And the bottles of Evian water, $2 water, were like $50 each. It was disgusting. I was so unhappy and disappointed that I was even there. And I remember I looked out into the city, and there was the Empire State Building. And my great-grandfather worked in the Empire State Building. And I remember saying to myself, if Pop was here right now, he would think I was a despicable disgrace to our family, a total piece of shit.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I guess I have a lot of ancestral guilt going on.
It's just very heavy.
Very heavy. It's all heavy.
You obviously sell things, and there's sometimes, well, not animosity, but people think you're out to get them by selling them watches and straps and stuff like that. But I do see now that it's just like if you abstract all of that, it is one guy that started off at 19 years old and just liked watches and thought, I can make this my job and sell them.
Yes, of course.
And the site is up, and you're not trying to destroy people or anything like that. Like, and out of all the things that you could be a wolf in, it is not the retail business.
Oh yeah, no way. I mean, there've been I've done well in watches. I could have made way more money in a lot of other things. I mean, I have cousins that did the whole like the drop shipping thing, and
really,
like they wolfed it up, and made a lot more money than me in many cases, and there are way better places to make money, I mean, and in fact, I have a media company now that makes makes good money, makes a lot more money, So it's not about that. It certainly, like I said, it was about independence. And it became about making some money. But, really, I started off really, really passionate about vintage watches.
Yep.
And I still am. But now it's more than that, because I feel this incredible nostalgia about vintage watches, particularly these watches, because I know what they meant for me. And I know the kind of like the original kind of brand speak was like, it's your companion. These watches are your companion because ultimately, everything else kind of goes away, like leather bags. Like, and I'm not on leather bags, but like it goes away eventually. It eventually tears. Whatever.
Yeah, right,
I mean, your mom's denim jacket, you lose it at a party, it happens. You think happens. But at least in my family, a man had a watch, a woman had a watch. Most of my uncles and whatever had watches, and they remembered times in their lives with those watches, and that was always a cool story. I remember thinking, oh, how cool is it? My poppy was a cab driver, was a Omega Seamaster, and my dad was out there trying to go from lower class to middle class, trying to do this struggle, and I found that so poetic.
Yeah,
and then I didn't have my own story because I was 19. And then you make your own story, and if you do make your own story, you want something to remind you of it, and that's what my Datejust is, and that's what my Breguet is, and so
right.
So when I look at some of these watches, I can't help but to be amazed by their beauty. Look at the crosshair on this Omega Seamaster. It's red. Of course. It's actually red.
Yep.
So is the logo. That's incredibly cool. That is unbelievably rare and beautiful and fucking awesome. You know what's even cooler than that? When you wear it in a job interview and get the job.
Yeah.
You know what's even cooler than that? When you wear it when you go home and tell your wife that you got the job, and you guys have an incredible night that was celebrated, and you make love, and
even better than the normal ending.
Yeah, like you do all these incredible things, right? Like,
right.
And then if you did, then you have a child, like you have this watch, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing goes again and again and again. My dad's Rolex is it's a Rolex, but it's the watch he wore to Chinatown when I was a kid. When he'd pull me out of bed at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. And that same thing would be this Omega for somebody long after it's mine, right? Long after this watch is in my possession. I will have no contact with this watch, and it will be, a part of some stranger's, most important memories.
And
that's
and at this time of year, the amount of times that is happening where someone is opening their story watch goes up exponentially.
100%.
Like, that's cool.
100%. I mean, and that's what we make films about a lot, It's about permanence, No one wants to be temporary. I don't want to be temporary in business. I don't want to be temporary in someone's life.
Yeah.
You want to be permanent. And a watch is a way to kind of promote that or reflect that permanence.
Yep.
You want to feel permanent? Give your daughter or your niece your watch and tell her to play with it and look at them.
Yeah.
That's permanent.
So strap.
Yes. Long story short is, this is the Liquor Run strap. Liquor Run's obviously a series at Theo and Harris. Started with my dad.
That's Rolly's strap.
This is Rolly's strap. This is a cork strap.
Lined, is that rubber or is that leather?
This is a red rubber strap line. He picked it out.
Yeah.
I said, hey, we're going to do cork for wine, and then, what do you want? And he did that. This is a part of our American collection. This is the Mojave strap. Beautiful, beautiful strap made in Texas. This is our Rover strap, modeled after a Range Rover. Perfect color combination.
A Range Rover.
Green caramel. And then this is the Amalfi vegetable tanned calf. Beautiful with a beautiful blue lining. This is the Alder strap. This is, again, American, kind of like a tan alligator. And this is the Oscar, which is also alligator.
Based off the Oscar Mayer weenie.
It's close. Close. It's actually based off of a scene in Devil Wears Prada.
Oh.
So you buy this strap, show your wife and tell her that you bought it because Devil Wears Prada. Yeah. But, anyway, these straps are available in the Theo and Harris strap shop. These watches are in the Theo and Harris watch shop. And Dale, take a look. Take a look at them. So as I said, this was not our first Christmas, this is our second Christmas. And all the things that have happened between last Christmas and this Christmas.
And then wild.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
unbelievable. Truly. So I can only imagine what will happen between now and Easter. So Merry Christmas to you, my friend.
And one more for good luck.
Happy Hanukkah. And one for good luck. And thank you guys all so much. I hope you have the most beautiful Christmas with your family and your children.
Yes.
And Merry Christmas.
Take some time to yourself. Or to your family.
And some eggnog. Some eggnog. With a little bit of rum.